Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2, 1. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam AK Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Trump and Zelensky have now traded barbs, as they call it. Essentially, now they're going at each other like they're not exactly best friends anymore. Relations between Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and U.S. President Donald deteriorated rapidly Wednesday as Zelensky said that our president was living in a Russian-made disinformation space. And, of course, our president called Zelensky a dictator without those days that you get picked, right? So, essentially, they are trading these kind of back-and-forth jabs. Meanwhile, of course, NATO and Zelensky are both saying that they're not going to have any part in our president's negotiations with Russia and, of course, these peace talks, right? So we are obviously headed towards where NATO is going to end up sending in troops to Ukraine. You've got a European NATO war. And then, of course, U.S. is kind of building up our walls and saying, hey, we're going to protect ourselves and look out for number one. You guys can handle your own business. We're gonna, mind ours, right? Well, at the same time, it looks like they are absolutely trying to get this thing going. It is absolutely just a crazy time in history. Tonight, we're going to be covering so many weird things that have gone on in just the last 24 hours. We're going to talk about USA versus the cartels. Of course, NATO versus, of course, Russia. And we're going to talk about Mr. Bill making a chip, a quantum chip, and so much more, including a nuke launch. So we will be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, some of the other comments here. Of course, our president lashed out at Zelensky in a social media post, said that Zelensky was, quote, a modestly successful comedian who, quote, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start, but a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, will never be able to settle. So the peace talks, essentially, people think that they are going to try to negotiate where Ukraine gives the Russian-speaking parts of Russia, or at least the parts that Russia has already taken, and essentially give those to Russia. They think that that would be what makes them happy. But, of course, those peace talks have had no part taken by, of course, Zelensky or any of the European allies. They were invited to these meetings, one in Munich and then the other, again, both in the last week. So both of these meetings, Zelensky essentially hinted towards that he wasn't invited, where we actually showed you yesterday that it was verified that Trump said he was invited and they were asking them to be there. They had official notice and they were trying to get them there, but they would not. So this whole thing looks exactly what I thought was going to happen, where you've got this war going. The U.S. is going to pull out, just like history repeating itself, where you've got Europe in a full-scale war, World War III before they called it that, or World War II right before they called it that. And then, of course, something will happen that will draw us in. And I believe that there are figures up above presidents that would try to do that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. But as far as these back and forth barbs, it's probably not too good for getting peace settled. But most people don't believe that Zelensky is actually the one calling the shots. Again, he mentions these things and he does these very directed things, saying he was a modestly successful comedian. The guy was literally a comedian who ended up playing a part on TV in Ukraine, that he was a regular Joe that got put right up to the Oval Office in Ukraine, basically their version of it, that he went from regular Joe to president. And then that happened in real life. Talk about, law of attraction type stuff, right? I think it's because they saw him acting like a president and they're like, yeah, that's the one. It was like there was a casting director there and they were like, you know what? This guy's good. Do you see how he talks? Yeah, let's pick that guy. Because if you actually go back in time, what was it, 2014? That appears to be exactly what happened. That he was picked, not chosen, right? If that makes sense. Not chosen by his peers or by his constituents, but picked by foreign governments. What do you guys think, though? Again, that's just my opinion. Pretty much fact. But you guys, let me know in the comments down below. All right, let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugel fam. I am doing just fine.
By the way, guys, I don't know if there will be a show tomorrow, just to do some housekeeping here. I do have 2 more dentist appointments tomorrow, and one of them is a minor surgery, but it is also going into what I did before. So again, I might not be on tomorrow, but if I am, it will be a shorter show. So make sure to check marfooglenews.com for that. But also, I just want to let you guys know, I'm probably going to be happier after tomorrow because I've got stitches coming out of the back of my mouth, and it just really, really sucks. So it's hard to talk, and I appreciate your patience. All right, and then, of course, you can find everything on marfooglenews.com, including a full source list, a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over on our website, including some stuff that might even be added during the show. There's actually a couple tweets that I have not put up there yet, so I'll show you that, I believe, regarding Mr. Bill's quantum leap. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. All right. And then let's go over to a worried NATO holds large-scale combat drills as the U.S. shifts its Europe stance under President Trump. Dex, do you want to go over what's going on with that?
Well, okay, so look, this is not something new in the sense that, this is not a brand new drill. This is a drill we already talked about. So this is Steadfast Dart 25, started in January 8th, and it runs until February 21st, which is Friday. But I sort of take a look at this and think about how they are just trying to ramp up the warmongering in Europe right now. So, a worried NATO holds large-scale combat drills as the U.S. shifts its European stance, okay? That's the message. They're trying to capture the last bit of this massive drill happening and make sure that everybody, equates it to, NATO's shaking in their boots because they're worried about war and the U.S. isn't here to protect them. So now they're having to do a drill. That's exactly the type of message they're trying to put out to, not only the folks in America, but more so the people in Europe. So coming from the AP here, but the story is the same just about everywhere you go. But look, just to get back into what was happening, it's drills. They're in Romania. There's about 10,000 forces. We've covered this before. It's their ability to rapidly deploy large-scale forces from the 32-nation alliance across the eastern border. It's in Romania, which borders up against Ukraine. And it's, part of the drills that, like I said, it's been going on for a little while. It's been going on all month, all January into February. It ends on Friday of this week.
And anytime you have drills like this, especially when you have all sorts of troops that have moved around in all of the NATO countries, you've got all these NATO countries digging trenches, building fences, putting dragon's teeth up. You never know what's going to happen, especially after the last 2 weeks where you have UK and Sweden essentially saying that they are going to be sending troops to Ukraine. I believe in the next week and a half, we're going to see stuff regarding North Korea and Russia, and there will be an update to that. I also think that, of course, Iran and Israel, there's going to be big news this week. I hope it's not a huge scale attack on either side, but I think we'll see more from that as well. Quantum Leap, thank you for being here. Speaking of which, your name's in the title of the last show. Thomas, Pass McQuaddy, let's see here. Cameron, J-Pass, Spawn, 23, nice to see you. Lady L, thank you, I appreciate that. Daryl Calhoun, Mike Guyver, Labonte, Dennis N, thank you for being here. Stephen McMahon, thank you. And thank you for the support. I don't know if you stuck around for the next show last night, but I did see your super on the news show last night. So thank you. I appreciate for supporting us. Judy Bailey, Little Light ASMR, thank you. Ninja Kitty, and so many more. New names, too. Lots of new names. So thank you, guys. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, because if you don't, you're basically... YouTube is going to decide for you how many shows you are going to see. So make sure to put that to all. It's on default sum. So, all right. And then Putin thinks he's on the brink of victory, and Zelensky is a cornered rat. At least this is what is being said. Vladimir Zelensky is, quote, a cornered rat, according to one of Vladimir Putin's closest allies, ex-Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. Remember, Medvedev holds a current position, right? President Donald, of course, turned against the Kiev president. The Ukrainian leader could set off a nuclear dirty bomb, basically claimed by Medvedev, who is now a top Kremlin security official. His rant came as Russian propaganda went into overdrive, capitalizing on links between the president and Putin by demanding a, quote, military coalition of Washington and Moscow to divide Europe to hell. Gloating Medvedev's onslaught on Zelensky suggests that Putin believes he is on the brink of winning the war, or at least major Ukrainian concessions, and that the Ukrainian leader is floundering. It says, quote, the rat is cornered, he said. Its behavior can be completely unpredictable. It scurries around, squeaks frantically, and as a rule, in such cases, eventually rushes into a counterattack. Therefore, any provocation can be expected from a shaking rodent, and this is no joke, this is Medvedev quoting this, with running eyes in order to disrupt the settlement and to continue the war to the last Ukrainian. Which, who knows, that they might even go through the last Ukrainian and then move on to UK people and Sweden people and Polish people, if NATO has its way. He urgently needs to turn the tables, and for this purpose, all means are good, up to strikes on their cities, on their civilian population, or even the use of weapons of mass destructions, like, of course, dirty bombs. So they have quotes like this, and it makes you wonder, Dex, this makes me wonder, like, you know, when they just put the subtle kind of key thing out there, a lot of people are not going to believe what Medvedev says. Medvedev is a colorful character, like he's straight up a cartoon character of like a typical like stereotype of Russian. But he also was the former president, and he is definitely good at propaganda as well. I would say that he's just as good at putting it out as Putin is, and probably even better. And then the guy is essentially mentioning, you know, weapons of mass destruction. I don't know. It's something about that doesn't sit right.
Well, I agree, and but at the same time, you sort of got to look. When you look at the picture, you can see from the actions, like the way he has reacted in the last week, is dramatically different, and it's one in which it's a desperate move, and he's getting very desperate. It looks desperate. The fact that he's now feuding with Trump is a big deal. You know, Trump said in his conversation with him that he asked him if he knew where all the money was, and he said he only knew where about 50% of it was. So he only knows where half of the money that's been given to him has been gone, has been taken or used. So that's a lot of just mass corruption, so to speak, or just incompetence going on in that country, if he's straight up admitting that. So I think at this point, you know, he's either got to come to a realization that he's got to end this thing, or he's going to do what he's doing, which is what we see is he's just reacting. He's like scrambling and trying to get any love he can right now, and it's the only ones he's getting are the warmongers of Europe, because they're part of the problem. And just like I guess our prior administration was, and those people, they were all trying to fuel this potential conflict in Europe.
And it's kind of crazy because Tucker just said, like last week, essentially claimed, and this is a Tucker claim, he says he knows. I don't know how Tucker knows, but I sort of believe it. I believe Tucker does talk to some very, very high up people. Says rich Ukrainians are selling half of the arms we are sending them. That was a direct quote, many of which are going to the cartels. Now, that could be part of a side psyop, right? I know that everybody has their thoughts about what's going on with the cartels. Cartels have a history with the three-letter agencies, but it's kind of crazy because even the gear that we're sending, they say that they're selling, or the claim is that they're selling half of it to the cartels. We do know that there's been other stories that would corroborate that these cartels are popping up with man pads and other crazy United States weaponry. So, is that true? And I cannot believe that, he would actually admit to something like that. But, that's what it is. The 9 people underneath him ended up resigning. And that's because they were getting investigated. Some of them had supercars. All of a sudden they had mansions. And this is where our tax dollars went. It's really, really sad what has happened in just the last, half a decade. All right. And then Notable Zero, thank you. Briar Patch, Jordan Brook, nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace if you haven't already. Jace is a really easy service you can do from the comfort of your couch. You can talk to a board-certified doctor in a very quick appointment. You can actually get a case sent right to your door of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. Again, that is called the Jace case. Again, you can get all of the life-saving meds in a handy kit. And then, of course, you can even add things in like albuterol and other emergency items. You can even get that stuff that Joe Rogan was taking and CNN was making fun of him for. So there's lots of really cool add-ons to that. Again, it is a very handy kit to have, especially if we have an event where we don't have the hospital. We don't have a pharmacy. If you look at the last show we just did over on news, talking about that 2001 document from NASA, Never a Straight Answer, it actually talks about, EMPs and other events that could knock down everything. The grid's been talked about for a very long time. If anything like that ever happens, or even a huge cyber attack like Klaus Schwab says, then you would definitely want to have these things, especially since 93% of all antibiotics are made in China. Very, very crazy stat there, again, but it is unfortunately true. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. Also, check out Jace Daily. That's where you can actually buy a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds. That way, tomorrow, if the lights go out, you have a year from tomorrow to have your meds. All right, and that's marfooglenews.com/Jace and code MARF. All of the affiliates that we pick, we believe in. We believe that they will help in some sort of way save your life or make your life more comfortable through a disaster. If you're new, there's a few new people here. We are on our own here. We're kind of floating out in the lake, trying to wade water with all of the behemoths. So thank you guys for helping. Mostly, though, please share our show out. That would be the most appreciated thing. You don't have to donate or buy any affiliates. They're very much appreciated if you do, but mostly, please share our stuff out. We would love to get as many people ready as possible for any disaster, let alone SHTF, which I believe is very, very well coming. I do believe it's coming, but again, that scares people. And then border state officials put cartels on notice as they await green light to take major action. So there was also a quote. Dex, did you see the newest quote about the from Elon about, 7 hours ago? If we can, probably grab that. But Elon,
where he said it opens him up to drone strikes.
Yeah, and I thought this was already something that was kind of there. But he's now adding that in today. right?
Well, yeah, because it was a February 6th, I think, statement, or I mean, it was like right. It was one of the first things he did, and even the information that they're talking about is old. Like he named him. The tweet was he named somebody had named all these, or said that these all these different, listed all the different cartel names, listed all their names out, and said they're now all part of the the T group list. And his response was, that means they can be struck with drones. So, which is what we've been saying, but yeah, it's been out for about a month now, or almost a month now.
We talked about it on January. It was January 1st when they declared it, right? When they declared them, or said that they were going to declare them as a foreign terror.
No, it would have been on the 20th when he came in.
Oh, that's right.
It was his first day, yes. But yeah, the 20th.
Oh, that's funny. Elon Musk also said a live stream of Fort Knox would be fire. I don't know about that. Could you imagine, Dex? Could you imagine if they went into Fort Knox and there was nothing there, or there was 5 bricks painted gold or something? Like, that would be scary as hell. I would pretty sure that would start a war, right? If we didn't have everybody's gold in there, that would start a huge war.
Yeah, that would be nuts. But yeah, I love, my favorite meme is the Schrodinger's gold. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It shows a picture of Fort Knox. If you know the Schrodinger's cat theory, then you get
No, I don't actually know that one.
It's like if you put a cat in the box and you don't know if the cat is alive or dead until you actually look. It's about state and physics and theoretical physics.
Yes, isn't it both, right? Like
it's both.
The answer is both.
But it doesn't matter until it's observed.
Did he get rid of that? Or I guess we're getting back there. Did he get rid of that tweet, by the way? I don't see it anymore.
No, it was earlier today. It's been a while.
It was at least...
I'll go find it.
Okay. Yeah, so when he pointed out, and then he puts the actual document there, the first response was from Ian Carroll, I believe, and he said, no, dude, I sure hope that you are not, justifying strikes in the United States. Think about that. If they have cartels like it listed as Tren de Agua, if they have a station here, so say in Colorado, if they're set up in an apartment building, does that mean that a Predator drone could, swoop up above and strike them in Colorado? That was something that popped up, and I didn't think that that's what he meant. I pretty much assumed that he means that is going to open them up for strikes in Mexico. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, go ahead.
Link's up next.
Oh, thank you. All right, and then let me pop this up here. Yeah, so I mean, this is what we've been saying, and of course since January 20th when they called it. That means they're eligible for drone strikes. If you were a cartel, that would be kind of freaky. This includes Tren de Agua, MS-13, Sinaloa Cartel, Jalisco, New Generation Cartel, United Cartels, Northeast Cartel, Gulf Cartel, and I've never heard of the Gulf Cartel. And then I'm not going to mess up that name because who knows if somebody sees me on the street that's part of it. Oh, you said it wrong. But Sinaloa, MS-13, Tren de Agua, and Jalisco, those 4 are the big ones. I believe those are bigger than the last 4. That is very, very, very crazy that we're actually talking about this right now. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is it.
And to be honest, I mean, my personal take on it, I don't know. I mean, I think, we would do something, but I don't think we would do it without, talking to the Mexican government, or at least getting some sort of permission, unless it was an immediate retaliation for something happening in live real time at the border, so to speak, right? Like if we're under attack, I think we would just react. But I think if we were trying to strategically do something, I can't imagine we would do it without talking to the president there, just because of the relationship we have to maintain with our border and with that country. It would just not make a lot of sense to do that. And likewise, I think we sort of do that in other countries, even in the Middle East. We don't just rando do it unless it's an area that we, don't recognize or don't give that much respect to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
And the people listed in this list, Adam, they're in America too. So what are we going to do? Just fly drones around America and pop people off with, with things? It's not like that's. I think it's more of a. I don't know. It's definitely a scare tactic for the cartels.
Well, think about this, Dex. There's so many things that they're doing right now that is not normally acceptable, but the people are fully behind it. If they did end up flying Predators above us, I would almost think that right now people would go, okay, well, if Donald thinks it's best, then that's great. They're flying above. Personally, I would not want that.
Nuts. No, I think enough people. I think there's plenty of people that would be that's nuts. But you're right. There are plenty of people out there who go, heck yeah, man, fly those things over and take out the bad guys. But
yeah, take out the apartment building in Colorado.
Yeah, but there's got to be enough sound mind people that would be like, yeah, that's just a little too far. We're not going to accept that.
Yeah, that would be no fun. All things random. Thank you. I appreciate the super. Again, I don't know if you noticed. I actually just used your song. I just randomly picked that one. All things random. And then says, let's see here. Thank you for providing us with the real news. Hey, thank you. All things random. I appreciate that. And thank you for the support. By the way, a big shout out to Inquiring Minds and Wings and Wags Patriot this week. Thank you again for your support. Inquiring Minds, again, thank you. Jonathan Floming. And then Devon Bacchus, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And then Steve, thanks for subscribing. Steve McQueeve, I think that's how you say it. If it's not, I'm not saying it. Okay, and then, yeah, we have Chinese Navy helicopters. Helicopter intercepts Philippine Cessna over Scarborough. Now, with this, I don't think this is that strange at all because, of course, we have China, essentially this huge part of the South China Sea. They say this is ours. They've even put out official maps saying all of this is ours, including countries that they are basically overlapping into, and they've taken Vietnam, Philippines, all of their waters. They are essentially going into their ADIZ zone and saying, nope, this is ours. Partly because of the Spratly Islands and other parts because they're just basically saying, like, what you going to do? A Chinese Navy helicopter intercepted a Philippine civilian maritime domain awareness flight over South China Sea in what Manila called a blatantly hazardous action. It says this reckless action posed a serious risk to the safety of the pilots and the passengers during an MDA flight. Meanwhile, China's Ministry of National Defense said that the aircraft entered its, quote, territorial airspace without permission. The news release blasted Manila's coverage of the incident. The PLA Air Force Colonel Tien Un Lee of the Southern Theater Command claiming that the Philippine side spread false narratives by talking black into white. That's a quote there. And then Beijing also claimed its forces expelled the aircraft in accordance with law and regulation. And then, of course, on the other side, they're going to do the quote that they always do, that they're, doing the freedom of navigation and doing all of that, right? But all of these events, any one of these events could turn into, well, they could go south real quick, but they could turn into something bigger in escalation. Dex, go ahead.
Well, did you get this? They said that the Chinese helicopter flew as close as 3 meters from the aircraft.
10 feet, yeah.
10 feet, yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's pretty close.
At first, there was an article earlier this morning that said that they believed it flipped over the plane. I know Cessnas don't go that fast, but how fast do these helicopters go? Can they catch up to a Cessna like that? I don't know how fast these military copters go.
They can. Yeah, they can hustle, and Cessnas don't have to go that fast because they can just butt along.
Yeah, I'm sure military helicopters are really fast. I've never seen a helicopter just like hauling ass ever. I mean, you usually see them just kind of cruising by. But I know Black Hawk helicopters; those things are fast. And then Apaches. Who knows how fast those things go? They just look fast. You just look at them and you just go, you're fast. Like if an Apache goes by my street, the old lady down the street's like, slow down. I mean, that's how fast it looks, You get it. And then Elon Musk revives decades-old push to audit the Fed. Jerome Powell warns it's a step towards eliminating the central bank. Is there anybody on this list that they're not going to target? I mean, they're tearing up the entire planet right now. This is a giant step towards just absolute unknown territory right now. Elon Musk has reignited a long-standing debate about auditing the Federal Reserve, a topic that has consistently drawn the attention of both politicians and financial experts. His call for more transparency at the central bank have sparked a variety of reactions, highlighting the delicate balance between government oversight and the Fed's independence. Now, remember, the central bank is not our government bank. It is its own entity. It is, it's just insane that our whole system is based on this thing where it's not even a part of us, right? Musk, known for his leadership at Tesla and SpaceX, has been quite outspoken about the need for greater scrutiny of the Federal Reserve. On X, he shared his thoughts, stating, quote, all aspects of the government must be fully transparent and accountable to the people. No exceptions, including, if not especially, the Federal Reserve. Of course, there's also chatter over the whole weekend about, these crazy dividends, right? Dex, do you want to talk about the dividends and possibly they're weighing a $5,000 check for everybody or something like that?
Yeah, wow, this would be, just absolutely amazing if they did, but they're suggesting that, they could basically put these dividends in the hands of everybody. And the idea was like, if Doge actually found, the large amount of money, the $2 trillion that it was originally targeting. So if it found that, and it said, if we then just said, hey, let's take 20% of it and give it back to the American taxpayers, and then use the rest to pay down the debt, even doing that would still give $5,000 refund to everybody, every taxpayer, every tax household, I think is how they did it, which I want to say, like when I looked it up, it's like 150, there's like 333-ish million people in America. It's 150-ish million taxpayers, because a lot of those are kids, a lot of those are not taxpayers. But yeah, so $5,000 refund for taxpayer.
And it seems kind of weird that he threw out an actual number, not like, oh, we've been mulling over, like giving you guys a something. $5,000, that's a good chunk of change. How much was the biggest stipend, or the whatever? What did they call those? The things during the CV.
Weren't they like 1,900 was the big one? I can't remember. It wasn't that much, but it was. I mean, it was significant, but I thought it was spread out.
I think it depended. It depended if you did. Wasn't it different if you had kids? I think, or
yeah, but I thought you only got up to a certain amount. But it was like you got multiple payments, but then they maxed out at a certain amount, somewhere like $2,000.
I felt like it was like something 31 something or something like that. But as far as that goes, I mean that's a chunk of change. That would be. I mean, that would be like a quarter of a month. That would be like a week's rent in Seattle. I mean, that would be like 4 cartons of eggs. Heck, that would be like 2 tanks of gas in Seattle. That's a lot of money. $5,000. You could get yourself a ream of paper, a bagel, and a drink here. You most definitely could get like at least 4 or 6 packs of soda. I mean, even choice like Pepsi or Coca-Cola. That's a big deal. 4 cartons of milk at least, right? Maybe 5. Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of money. Who knows though? Maybe in the near future, that money will be worth more though. Carlton Sutton says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and I'm trying to remember the rest of it, but against principalities and the darkness of rulers. I can't remember the whole thing, but essentially stating that it's not human beings that we're wrestling emotion and ideas and ideology and spirit. It's just very, very spot on. Carlton Sutton. By the way, go check out my Twitter if you haven't already, at Marfoogle. Go over there and check out the photo I posted. That totally tripped me out. I'll show you at the end of the show. But make sure to follow me over at Marfoogle. You'll see a certain face if you squint. You'll know what I mean if you go over to my page. All right, and then, yeah, Doge giving $5,000. That would be a giant deal. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Again, EMP Shield is a device that will protect you against all, not only EMP strikes, but also a Carrington level event. Just to change it up, everybody that's been here for 5-6 years, you know we have had this for years and years and years. And I know that it gets old hearing the same advertisement for affiliates. But I will say this, the people that are getting these, I absolutely do believe that at some point you will absolutely thank yourself for doing so. Even if you don't do it through us, you do it through somebody else, or you do it without us. This is a device that will end up protecting you against EMP and a Carrington level event. And as we all know, a Carrington level event will happen. It's a matter of when, not if. So this is a double protection, and even triple in some cases, like the home version protects against lightning. And that way you can get home to your family or get out to bug out. But I do want to point out there are a lot of stories coming, and after talking to Fugel family members, military Fugel family members, 2 active and 1 retired, they have all said that there is all of a sudden a huge, huge buzz about hardening the grid again, that they're revamping it, they're restarting it, and it seems hurried, is what they're saying, that something seems hurried. I will say this, I think that is because over the last 4 years, that executive order that he signed up back in 2018, they essentially had on pause. And to get the United States back, totally hardened, we don't know how long that will take. But it took almost half a year to do a single county. There's like 1 county that was completely hardened. Their local grid was hardened. So I can't imagine the whole country. And of course, if they've got companies like EMP Shield doing it, they're going to need more factories because that's a lot of EMP shields. Go over to marfuglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off with the code MARF, again, and you will help us out at the same time. Just imagine something like this happens and you continue business as usual. You have your car to get home, you have your generators to run, and all of your devices plugged in your home are all able to run off your generator. marfuglenews.com/EMP and code MARF.
And Adam, I think it was Coffee County. They outfitted their entire infrastructure, all of their buildings, all of their vehicles that was part of the county's stuff, with EMS, fire, police, all that. Yeah, they were one of the few that announced it and talked about it. But there's plenty on the grid. There's a lot of grid stuff happening. They just won't talk about it because they're so private about it. For some reason, they will not release or publicly talk about the grid upgrades that are going on. Only one we know about publicly is Texas, and we know anecdotally some stuff that's been seen in Indiana.
Huh. Well, if you're in Coffee County, then you are in one of the most EMP progressive areas. But we'll tell you this, it is the most likely event because it is knocking out power and communications is what any enemy would go to first. It is what any if you ever try to take anything out, militarily wise, doesn't matter what country, they all train the same. Knock out power and knock out communications. It's War 101. And right now we're building a supposed Iron Dome system in the United States. That should tell you something. Something is on the horizon. Don't, follow your gut. Don't follow the butt. I think that makes sense. Don't follow your gut. Don't follow the butt. That was the PG version, right? All right. And then let's Let's go over this document. So again, we did a video over on Marfoogle News about this, and I'm going to actually pop over to the chat because we have more time and we're not trying to keep it short. I want to see what you guys had to think about this. And again, for anybody that did not join us in Marfoogle News, which surprisingly a lot of people don't watch that short one, we do have different news in it. This is a document that you have probably already seen, at least if you're in our community, depending on when you kind of woke up to things. This is a crazy, crazy document. And as far as we can tell, and I looked for about two and a half hours, and I dug into the Twitter holes. I dug to see if there was community notes. I was looking specifically for debunks. Nothing exactly debunks this at all. I mean, doesn't. As far as it looks like Dennis M. Bushnell did this as a presentation for NASA, Never a Straight Answer, and it has so many things. And this is back in 2001, the same year that we had, September 11. And the stuff it talks about, it even says circa 2025. If you go to the very beginning here, future strategic issues, future warfare, circa 2025. Capabilities of the enemy after next, ongoing worldwide technological revolutions, economic trends, potential nature of farther term warfare. And almost everything they talk about is stuff that we are now either talking about, developing, or sharing videos almost on a daily on Twitter about. Just today, there was I forgot to put that. Dex, did I send you I think that's what I forgot to send you. I didn't send you the bill thing yet, but I also didn't send you this video of the muscular clone robot. Again, they mention all this kind of stuff in this document in 2001. Very, very, very insane. And Deborah Tavares, a lot of people saw that viral video of her talking about this about 10 years ago. And even 10 years ago, in 2015, this really didn't make as much sense. And I think it was a Project Camelot video where he was interviewing her. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me because I don't know what. I think it's a YouTube channel. I don't know. But as far as this goes, it talks about drones. It talks about brain interfaces, brain chips. It talks about terraforming. It talks about microwave weapons. It talks about acoustic weapons, audio things that could screw up, low frequency things that could hurt your brain. It talks about brain control weapons. It talks about co-opted and directed controlled insects. It talks about insects that can deliver as a delivery system. Think about what they've been talking about with the mosquitoes and being able to basically give out a certain type of medicine through the mosquitoes, right? There was, Dex, I'm missing a ton. I think there's like 85 different topics that it goes over, and almost all of them back in 2001 did not make very much sense at all. I mean, it would almost be, sci-fi in 2001. And it eerily predicts even drone swarms, robotic and cyborg, blending of all of this stuff. And specifically, it mentions a whole lot of stuff that just in the last year and a half, we have actually had come out as not science fiction, but science discovery, or now this is coming in the next year type of thing. And it's mentioning it being in circa 2025 or by 2025. So yeah. It's not exactly like, Back to the Future said, we would all have flying cars by 2020, right? This actually was accurate. Dex, crazy
it
stuff.
Talked about beam weapons. It talked about microwaves. It talked about, of course, EMPs was like one of the big ones listed so many times. That and AI were like the two most popular words used in there. Another one I saw was the sinking of a ship with a nuke on it to then detonate and create, and I don't know why they didn't use the term tsunami. They kept using the word tidal wave, or in that particular case, but
weird.
A tidal wave. Yeah, a nuclear tidal wave.
A nuclear tidal wave? And you know what's super weird about that? The whole thing that's been going on for the last week with the whole asteroid 2024 YRT, and now they're saying it has a possibility of hitting the moon. And I actually said, massive tidal waves from that, because wouldn't that be what they would call if the moon screws it up? If the moon affects the waves, it wouldn't be a regular tsunami. It would be a tidal wave tsunami. I don't know. The stuff in here is just so crazy. So let's pop over to the chat real quick. I'm going to pop out the chat here if I can. Let's see. Let's go to this and let's go to Marfoogle TV. Boom, boom, bam. Hey, thank you, Danish Girl. Danish Girl, again, thank you for your support. Thanks for, again, joining the fam again. Angel Wings, thank you for joining the fam. Appreciate that. Becoming a member. All right. So what do you guys think about this? I don't recommend moving to the moon for that very reason. Jennifer Chamberlain, I see ladybugs in the summertime, central Alberta. I don't see any Japanese beetles, hardly no dragonflies, though. Some bird species very low or gone. Well, that's another topic that we've talked about as well, is the fact that bugs are disappearing. Tidal wave is tsunami. I guess you are right, Rick Johnson. I was thinking tidal wave would be, well, with the tides, right? A tidal wave, is there a specific height that a tidal wave is? But yeah, I guess they're one and the same, huh?
It's just the English American version of it before everybody formalized around tsunami. We used to call them tidal waves as a kid.
Yeah, yeah, now that I think about it, you're right. Tsunami, I don't think I knew that one when I was a kid. It was a tidal wave.
No, I didn't know tsunami until I was an adult. Yeah. I mean, I probably have heard it, but not as frequent as tidal wave. Tidal wave was in the cartoons. They didn't say tsunami.
Space Troll says, in a tent on a beach watching the show now on my phone. Tidal wave is more than what you, more when you are out to sea. See, I did see that. See? Get it? Not S-E. AI autopilot. No one talks about it. In Asia, they use it. Haven't seen any birds. Yeah, bugs are disappearing. Very, 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 very weird. They call it the windshield theory. If you haven't heard about it, go look it up. Almost every country is having a drop, not only in bees, but in insects, in all sorts of different things. When you drive through, if you used to remember, you used to be able to drive on the freeway and you would stop at a gas station and you would have bugs all over your windshield and all over the front of your grill. Now people have noticed almost everywhere around the planet that that's not happening as much, that they don't ever have squashed bugs on their windshield, which is super, super weird. Is that related to the bees? Is that related to all of these different things? Is it a chain event? I don't know, but it's not good news for human beings. The bugs seem to be disappearing because they were all in my house. And then K. Parker Frazier, thanks for gifting a membership. Appreciate that. Studio Lola Koi, mosquitoes are still around all year long. No, again, mosquitoes are, but what is odd is like when you're driving, they're not. It depends too, like, you know, again, it's many people in many places driving on the freeways. They just don't hit bugs anymore, and that's super weird. Are they learning? Let's see here. Rashid, it's the butterfly effect. Casey Ryback, as soon as you leave your city, bugs are plenty. Little Light ASMR, wonder if it's from those sky stripes. We've got, remember, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. No one's got to be nasty about it. God bless. I agree with that. Omnist Hour, insect-shaped drones are good for distributing programmable patches. That's an interesting comment. Well, if you didn't know, they actually do have controllable insects now. We've covered those as well. Crazy videos out there, in fact, too. All the bugs are now used in your Doritos. That is right. That's another thing that it talks about in this too, is food, bugs and insects being used in food. Just so many different things in this. Let's go to I want to go to the chat real quick. I want to see how many people saw this years ago. How many people have never seen this before? How many people are just learning about this document? Press 1 if you are learning about it today. 2 if you've known about it, and then 3 if you can't remember. Again, let's see how many people actually knew about this before today. If this is the first time you've seen it, press 1. I'm actually surprised. There's a lot of ones. We covered this on this show 9 years ago or 8 years ago when I first started. That's because I was also talking about Helm, Jade Helm, all the weird kind of events, the coffin thing, all of those things were in the same time frame, the couple years when everybody was talking about this. Jennifer Chamberlain. And back then, beam weapons, as you remember just 4 or 5 years ago, beam weapons like directed energy was a tinfoil hat theory. It was not, it wasn't true at that point. Then they had that DoD conference that came out, the press conference, and he said, yeah, that not only are they real, but China and Russia have weaponized space, supposedly. So there's a lot of people that have just found out about this. I knew about this and Deborah Tavares. A lot of you would probably recognize the video. She's sitting in a chair with the interviewer talking about it. Once you saw it, I bet a bunch of those ones would actually turn into twos. But it is a very, very freaky document. It's available over on our website. It talks about nano replicators. It also talks about smart tags. It talks about, oh gosh, what was that other thing? It talks about brain Neuralink type technology. It talks about all of it. It is absolutely wild. It also kind of hints towards that they've got ways to get rid of us, right? So very, very creepy stuff. Go read it for yourself. Tell me what you think. Let me know in chat tomorrow. It's not that hard to read because it is like a PowerPoint presentation. Go see what you think about this, and think about this in the perspective that this was put out in 2001. This one, banking system computers. This is talking about examples of stuff that could happen. 3 sites nodes, EMP, attack buildings, power, software, and hardware. Interruptions in national, international payments systems, irrecoverable. That's like Mr. Robot plot right there. Railroads, 4 sites, attack options as above. All freight cars networked, everyone on just in time. I don't get some of that stuff. Like I said in the show earlier, I almost thought, man, was this early AI? Like, did they have early AI write this thing from the perspective of AI looking at human beings? It would actually make a whole lot more sense if you were. And then this, in 2001, talking about hordes or swarms of country-sized dispersed magazines of small, inexpensive, brilliant cruise UAVs, micro-rockets, slingatron projectiles. I don't know what the hell slingatron is. Sounds like something out of like a comic book store in The Simpsons. And then it talks about certain sensors. And then T attacks within CONUS, and I think that goes back to the other thing, critical infrastructure, and then exploit CNN syndrome, whatever the hell that means. And then this is creepy. Look at this. Capture/torture people in the U.S. in living color on prime time. Why did they say it like that? A serious cyber, the way that it was wrote, and some of the things that I remember watching Deborah Tavares and going, this is BS. I thought she was full of crap. Now looking at it, and now that there still is no debunk to when this, it at least has been around there, even if this was sci-fi, it got so many things right, it is absolutely crazy. Even if you don't believe NASA and you're saying they're totally full of crap, it was very, very weird that they came out with all of this stuff so far back. And then it mentions T attacks within CONUS, critical infrastructure, takedown, EMP, and then RF against brain, etc. I don't know if that would be considered like a Havana syndrome type thing, but yeah, this is very, very special. And then, yeah, trend summary, everything. U.S. Dex, did you catch this part? U.S. just one of the crowd economically. Do you know what that's saying? Like essentially that we're not number one. We're just kind of we're mixed in. That's weird. It also talks about universal wealth, which has been mentioned many times. Yeah. And then warfare increasingly robotic. Survivable, affordable power projection via deep water subs and blast wave accelerators. That's also something we've covered. Machines as creative/smart as humans. Robotics the norm, which is becoming the norm in all of the factories. I mean, this is just, it's unbelievable. Go read it for yourself. Tell me what you think tomorrow. And again, go through the whole thing. It's not hard to go through. It's not like a 4,000-page book. It's very, very easy to go through. Tell us what you think in the comments down below. If you're watching the replay, read this while you're watching. See what you find. All right. And then let's, I'm going to pull up a couple more things here. I'm going to pull up a couple tweets here. And then talk about the chip. Dex, do you want to talk briefly about the chip? I'm assuming you know some off the top of your head about the Microsoft chip.
Which chip are you talking about?
I can't. Is it Myanmar? Microsoft just came out with a big quantum chip thing. It's the size of a coaster. Hold on, I'll pull it up. Let's see.
No, I know the Google one.
Yeah, and this one. Yeah, this, I forget how they say it. It says Microsoft announces quantum chip, says it helps to push the boundaries of knows states of matter beyond gas, liquid, and solid. It says if you thought you didn't understand qubits, quantum processors, and superpositions, now you still don't. Also, if you say it very fast, it sounds like marijuana chip. Yeah, that's the word I was remembering too. It's called Majorana. And of course, this is the chip. It looks about that big. And apparently it has quantum processors. There was another part to that too, though. They said essentially it is making a new state that is not gas, not liquid, not solid, but its own state. I don't understand how it does. And again, like it says, like if you don't understand, you probably still don't understand. I don't. And again, maybe somebody can explain that to me, how it makes a new technical state. But yeah, I guess I paid attention because I don't want to see it coming out of Microsoft. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then let me show you one last thing here. Let me show you this very, very, very creepy thing. Clone robot. All right, so check this out. Now, this is supposedly a robot. I said, man, this looks like a guy in a suit. And I almost think it is. Many people were sharing this. I don't know if this, trolled people, but they're saying that this was a muscular robot. It says you are looking at an atomically perfect copy of us, developed by Clone Robotics. 200 degrees of freedom, like human joints, 1,000 artificial muscle fibers, 500 sensors throughout its bodies. We've crossed a major threshold. We're not just building better robots. We are creating biological mirrors that reflect and potentially surpass our own capabilities. When you see it moving around and stuff, this thing is very, very, very creepy. It definitely looks human. The way that it is wiggling around, I honestly think that it's almost a guy in a suit. But what do you guys think? Go watch the video for yourself. We'll link it over on Marfoogle News. I have all of this stuff on my Twitter, so make sure to go follow me at Marfoogle. You'll actually find, if you click over there, you'll see most all of this stuff, including this woman actually explains better than I could have the Major Anna chip. And then, of course, that robot. And then if you squint your eyes, what do you see? Kind of crazy if you ask me. All right, you guys. Again, squint your eyes real quick and then have a good night. Dex, thank you so much for your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, and then let's see here. Thank you, Robert Gomez. I appreciate you joining. Appreciate Stephen Click. Thank you. Stephen Click, the Bible verse. Let's see here. The Bible verse is to tell you that people's evil does not come from them, but from greater powers beyond, so that you know that it's no small thing and it's all part of an order. They are evil. Stephen Click, I agree. Again, great. Thank you for the explanation as well. Stephen Click, and then the leftist media appeals to the human condition. It is a massive group of peoples who indirectly sold their souls and signed off from integrity, dignity, and humanity years ago. They all hate Jesus. I don't think in journalism, almost everyone in probably 95% of these different places, they did sell their integrity. They essentially went with the rules. But what's sad is I think 98% of regular people did too. The fact that people didn't speak their mind over the last 10 years, including myself, like there's a lot of things that I just couldn't say. And it's frankly because I had to continue making a living and surviving. And that's what's so screwed up is they made it. They looked at the root of all of it and they said, hey, if we do this and we take their way to live away, then nobody will do it. Nobody will share it. But I think that a lot of people have grown a lot of courage in recent years, and especially since the new president, that people are tired of it. People want to say what's on their mind, and they're tired of being filtered. I'm sure you guys are all too, and I'm sure this is nothing new to you. Again, thank you guys. Have a great night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.